Hello, everybody, and welcome here up at another podcast. Today is Monday, May 30th. It is another BSN podcast here today. Hopefully everybody's having a day so far and had a good weekend. There was a lot of great sports on over the weekend, a lot of excitement, a lot of energy. It's a 3-day weekend, so happy Memorial Day. It is Memorial Day, obviously. So it's a day off for most people. It's a day off today. I'm sure some people probably have work, but most people it's a day off. So you got afternoon baseball, you got all that good stuff. You got hockey on tonight. You had basketball on last night. You had all weekend full of baseball, basketball, and hockey as well. Tonight's it. Tonight's the big night. Rangers, Hurricanes, Game 7 tonight. This is the big one. This is it right here. Rangers took the win on Saturday 5-2, did what they needed to do, protected home ice at the Garden, which they've been great at, and tonight is the night. They got to take care of business tonight on the road against the Hurricanes in North Carolina. So, look, like I said, this is it. Game 7. Anything can happen. As people say, the two best words in sports, Game 7. So, I'm very excited for tonight's game. We're about 7 hours out, so we're a ways away here from the start of tonight's game. But, the bottom line is for the New York Rangers, and we'll get to it in our first topic here, you got to do whatever you did at home, whatever was working at home, you got to do that here because you're on the road. It's Game 7. You're one game away from getting to the Eastern Conference Finals. And if you get there, then you're 4 wins away from getting to the Stanley Cup. So you don't want to obviously look at the big picture too much, but tonight's game, if you win tonight's game, you're knocking right on the door of a Stanley Cup playoff run right there. Because then you obviously host the Tampa Bay Lightning. You'll have home ice there, which is a huge advantage. And if you take care of business there, well, then you're going to the Stanley Cup and you're playing either the Oilers or the Avalanche. And for a team that went into the year with the expectation of making the postseason to get a chance to be one series away from the Stanley Cup, tonight's the night. You got to put it all out there, put it all out on the line. And my big thing going into tonight's look, this is it. You got to put it all out there, right? Act like tonight is Game 7 of the Stanley Cup. Because if you just take care of business tonight, no matter how you do it, if you just end the game and you're on top and you're going home victorious and we're getting ready for a game on Wednesday, you get a day off tomorrow to reset mentally, physically, then you're back at it on Wednesday. So tonight, focus has got to be strictly on this game only. Take care of business, whatever it takes. Take care of business tonight, and you got yourself an Eastern Conference Finals with home ice starting on Wednesday against the defending back-to-back champion Lightning. So a lot weighs on tonight's game. I'm definitely nervous. I'm excited. Luckily, as Ranger fans and the Hurricanes fans out there, actually, too, both these teams were in Game 7s in their first 2 series. Rangers obviously defeated the Penguins, and the Hurricanes defeated the Bruins. So both these teams knows what it's like, knows how to win in Game 7 because they both did it in the first round. And here we are again, Game 7. And I will always say this as a fan. Game 7s are so... They're great because everything's on the line, right? Anything could happen in a Game 7. At the end of the day, home or away, anything could happen. It's a Game 7. Both teams are putting all out there on the line. Your season's on the line. That's it. Anything can happen. Crazy stuff. We've seen crazy stuff happen in Game 7s, right? We saw it last night. Last night's game was wild. I mean, the Heat almost came back from like a 10-point deficit with under 2 minutes to go. Any crazy things can happen in Game 7s. So just put it all out there, win the game tonight. So Rangers tonight, Yankees have a day off. Mets will be in action tonight as well against the Nationals at Citi Field. So that will be an opening up of a 3-game series at Citi Field. And I'm gonna be the person. And I said this on my Bubs Talking Baseball podcast, which is every Sunday on iTunes and Apple Podcasts. And I'm currently working to try and get it up onto Odyssey as well. So trying to expand it a little bit onto multiple platforms. I'll keep you guys updated on wherever that goes and how many platforms I can get it on. But it's on iTunes and Apple Podcasts right now if you're interested. But I said, For the Mets, they took care of business, swept the Phillies. Last night's game was just wild. You had Adam Ottavino come in. He made Nick Castellanos look silly, chased the pitch completely out of the zone, had an 0-2 count, and Castellanos hit a home run. And Phillies took the 4-3 lead. Mets ended up coming in the bottom of the ninth, scoring a run, and in the bottom of the 10th, scoring the walk-off, which was Eduardo Escobar, I believe, walked it off. So the Mets were able to get the win last night, 5-4. But this is a big series for the Mets because the Mets right now go from this series to the West Coast road trip, which will include 4 against LA, then 3 in San Diego, and 3 more against the Angels. And then they come home and they got to face the Brewers. So they have a stretch of 4 series against 4 very good teams. And the Yankees will get the Angels tomorrow night at Yankee Stadium. And for the Yankees, the bats need to start coming alive, right? You took the first 2 Thursday and Friday at Tampa. You obviously lost Saturday, and you lost again yesterday. And you lost, the pitching kind of blew it yesterday, but the Rays had 2 hits. It was hit batter and a bunch of walks by Ron Marinaccio that completely just destroyed that game yesterday for the Yankees. So Yankees will look to get back on track. They have a much-needed scheduled off day today. They'll welcome the Angels for a 3-game set starting tomorrow at Yankee Stadium, and Ohtani as well will pitch that game on Thursday. So Ohtani, if you don't remember, last year he was at Yankee Stadium and he didn't get out of the first inning. So we'll see if Ohtani maybe gets a little bit of a redemption this time around. Yankee Stadium, bright lights. Maybe he'll get out of the first inning this time. Obviously, as a Yankee fan, you want to see them score as many runs possible, so you hope that all the pitchers struggle for the Yankees because obviously that means you're winning games and you're hitting the ball, but we'll see how all that plays out. That's Thursday, though. Tomorrow's game 1. But for the Mets, look, you got to find a way to sweep the Nationals. Nationals are 17 and 31, I think, 18 and 31, something like that. I know they just got off of actually a nice series against the Rockies, but, they're a team that you should beat and you should sweep because you don't want to go into the LA road trip starting on Thursday with 4 against the Dodgers limping, struggling. You don't want to get swept by the Nationals or lose 2 out of 3 against the Nationals and then go into it, or win the first 2 and then get just smoked on Wednesday and then go into the. No, you don't want that. You want to have a nice flight out to Los Angeles to start that trip right. So big series coming up for the Mets. It might not look big on paper, but this is big because the month of June is brutal for the Mets. And they get the Astros later on in the month. I mean, this is a very tough month for the Mets. And their worst opponent that they probably play all month is obviously, other than the Nationals for the 1 game, the Marlins. And the Marlins aren't even that bad of a team. Their pitching staff with Pablo Lopez and Sandy Alcantara has been excellent. So the Mets have a very tough month ahead. But Yankees-Mets tonight at Citi Field. Game 1 of 3 games set against the Nationals. Yankees day off. They'll be back in action tomorrow to start up the series with the Angels. All right, so the topics for today's podcast, we got Rangers versus the Hurricanes, Game 7 tonight. So we're going to recap a little bit of Game 6. That obviously took place on Saturday. It was a great win for the Rangers. They did everything they needed to do. I mean, it was probably their best game of the series. They got the job done. Now tonight, Game 7. What do the Rangers need to do to get this win and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals? I'll give you all that, get you ready for tonight's game, which is just about 6.5 hours. We're about 6.5 hours out from Game 7 here, so still a ways out, but going to get you ready for that. Then we're going to get into some basketball. Haven't talked much NBA playoffs. Obviously, with my hockey team being in it, I've watched all the hockey games. I've only seen a couple NBA playoff games because obviously with the Rangers and the Yankees and stuff, it's kind of been tough, obviously, and I want, obviously, the Rangers to go all the way on to the Stanley Cup. So we're going to talk about the Celtics and the Heat tonight, and I have no issue with me not being able to watch a ton of NBA playoffs because it means that baseball's on and it means that the Rangers are still winning games. So that's all good. But we're going to get to the Celtics and Heat. Saw the game last night. Celtics-Heat Game 7. We're going to recap it. We're going to talk about it. It was a wild one. It was a crazy finish. What the Celtics and Warriors, what to expect, give you a little preview for the finals, and yeah, I'll probably do a full preview on that, but I really want to recap last night's game, and where do the Heat go from here, because this is another season where they fall short of expectations. We'll get to that, and then we'll get to the New York sports update and all that good stuff, finishing it off. Like I said, Mets tonight against the Nationals open up a 3-game set at Citi Field. Yankees day off, they'll be back in action tomorrow at Yankee Stadium for a 3-game set starting against the Angels, and that's a rare time throughout the year where you'll have Yankees and Mets at home for the same time. Usually, as we all know, it's either the Yankees home and the Mets are away, or vice versa. Yankees away, Mets home. So a rare time where the Yankees will be home Tuesday, Wednesday. Mets will obviously be home Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Then Mets will head out on the road. Yankees will stay home. So a rare moment where the Yankees and the Mets are at home at the same time. So we got that coming up as well. All right. With all that being said, a lot to get to. It was a long intro. Wanted to get to a lot, obviously, coming out of the weekend. So with all that being said, this is BSN Podcast, and let's get right into it. So tonight's the night. It is another Game 7 for the New York Rangers. Series tied 3-3. As we all know, Rangers took the win on Saturday 5-2. It was an excellent performance. Rangers had their backs against the wall. What are they? I think they're 4-0 facing elimination. The Rangers have just been great. They've lived up to that no quit in New York mentality. They lived up to that just next man up kind of. I shouldn't say next man up. They've kind of just lived up to that. Look, that mentality of. Even I don't know why I said next man up's not really the right word, but they've lived up to the mentality of, look, when you get knocked down, you got to get back up. That's kind of where I was going with that. But they got knocked down the first 2 games in Carolina. They got back up 1-2 more at home. They got knocked down in Game 5. Well, they got back up quickly, won Game 6 in convincing fashion, 5-2. Antti Raanta was pulled after letting up 3 goals early on, so he looked shaky. And the Rangers took advantage, and they won 5-2. They scored 3 on Raanta, 2 more on the backup goalie, or I should say probably more so like the third, fourth string goalie, because technically Raanta's the backup to begin with, but Freddie Anderson's been out. So he's been getting the start all series and most of the Boston series. So for the Rangers, they took advantage of that. They won Game 6. They won it in convincing fashion. And here we are, another Game 7. Rangers had a Game 7 in round 1 against the Penguins. Took care of business, as we all know, with the Artemi Panarin overtime winner 4-3 at the Garden. And here we are yet again. Game 7, same circumstances. The opportunity for tonight is the Rangers get the job done. They they start up the Eastern Conference Finals on Wednesday. So if they get the job done tonight, they'll have 1 day off, which is a short day off, but you can look at it both sides. The Lightning will have had not played for 9 days, because the Lightning had ended their series on Monday of last. So a week today, the Lightning, week ago today, Lightning ended their series. They swept the Panthers. They'll play on Wednesday. So the Lightning, come Wednesday, will have not played in 9 days. So if the Rangers win tonight, which it just makes it so big, is you get, not only are you at home, but you get a Lightning team that, yeah, they've gotten a lot of rest, but they have not been in a game action in over a week. So Rangers, on the other hand, are much more fresh. I guess you could say much more, have just played. They're more in their rhythm. For the Lightning, you can't simulate playoff hockey in practice. So, and if you do, there's probably going to be injuries. You just can't do it. So tonight's a big game, and tonight is really just one of these games where everything that you've done in this series, whatever it is, all the positives, you got to bring with you tonight. And all the negatives, you got to leave it. You got to leave it. Whether it's leaving it in the team hotel, leaving it wherever it is, you cannot bring any of the things that the Rangers have done poorly in this series with you tonight. Because tonight's a Game 7. This is it. And I don't want to start to look ahead, because you got to focus on tonight. You got to focus on this Game 7. And I understand it's on the road. And it's going to be a lot tougher to win on the road, obviously, than when the Rangers were at home against Pittsburgh in round 1. But it's a Game 7. Anything can happen. Road team, home team, at the end of the day, Game 7, winner takes all. That's the reality. So, Rangers tonight, it is huge. And we saw this during the home, when Rangers were at home, we saw the Rangers get off to these quick starts. Go back to Game 3 when the Rangers won, they got off to a quick start. You go back to Game 4, quick start, right? Let's go back. Game 3, Rangers scored the first 2 goals, right? That tied the series. Go back to what? Game 3. You go back to Game 3, right? Rangers scored the first 2 goals. You go to Game 4. Game 4, Rangers won Game 4, rather. Sorry, I'm all over the place here. And the Rangers scored the first 3 goals in game. They carried a 3-0 lead going into the third period. You go to Game 5, well, guess what? You go to Game 5, the Hurricanes scored the first goal, Rangers then bounced back, Hurricanes scored the next, and then they scored the last one. Right? And then you go to Game 6, which was Saturday, Rangers scored the first 3 goals. Actually, they've scored 4 before the Hurricanes scored 2. So Rangers had a 4-1 lead, obviously ended up winning 5-2. So that in itself shows you each game Each game, other than the first game of the series, other than game 1 where the Rangers scored early, all 5 games since game 1, the first team that scores gets the win. Game 2, Hurricanes scored first, they won. Game 3, Rangers scored first, they won. Game 4, Rangers scored first, they won. Game 5, Hurricanes scored first, they won. Game 6, Rangers, as we all know, scored the first 3. They obviously went on for a blowout win 5-2 that included the benching of Antti Raanta. So it is huge tonight, especially on the road. And the Rangers did this in Game 7 last series against Pittsburgh. They got off to the quick start with the Chris Kreider goal to make it 1-0. If you all remember that, obviously the Panarin plays most of what we all remember, rightfully so. That's what got us here. But if you remember, the Rangers actually got off to that quick start. So tonight it is huge, and especially on the road, because you're not going to have the crowd behind you to try to pick you up and get some energy and infuse some energy into the team. Because if the Hurricanes score the first goal, that crowd's going to be roaring, and it's going to be loud, and it's all going to be in support of the Hurricanes. None of it Rangers. It's not the case where you let up the first goal, and then the crowd, starts to get you back into it, get you a little bit of energy. That's not the case. So it is huge for tonight for the Rangers to get off to a quick start. And I think it's big, too, for a young team. We've been in a Game 7, but you're on the road, so it's definitely going to be different. It's a lot different than hosting a Game 7. It's going to be huge for a young team, too, I think, in terms of confidence. Get off to a quick start. And we know how good this Hurricanes team is at home. They've played 13 playoff games so far, right? 13. And they're 7-0 at home, 0-6 on the road. They have yet to win a road playoff game. They've won every single home playoff game. So for the Rangers, you got to find a way to steal one at home or on the road, because the Hurricanes have not let any up there, number one. But number two, you got to get off to those quick starts, because you get off to a quick start, it shows in this series. The team that gets off to the quick start has won the game. And that's also because good goaltending. There's been good goaltending. Now, obviously, Game 6 wasn't very good for the Hurricanes, but there's been good goaltending for the most part all series long. So it's really been whoever has that first goal, it's been tough to score on the other guy. So Rangers got to come out tonight and get off to a quick start. Another thing for the Rangers too tonight, and this is what I love what they did in Game 5 or Game 6 rather. Sorry, I get them all mixed up. Game 6 rather. You can't play dump and chase. You got to get the puck. Get it across the neutral zone. Get it in your zone. Set it up. Get the offense going. Get it. Try to get Meek on a one-timer. Get to the net. Shoot the puck. Get good chances. Get grade A chances. Too much when the Rangers have been on the road this series. They have been playing too much dump and chase, where they get the puck, they clear it, line change, nothing going. They get the puck, clear it, line change. Maybe they get the puck, guy chases after it, there's 3 Hurricanes there that grab the puck and they take it out, and they advance and transition up the end of the ice. And that's an issue, because the Hurricanes play a very neutral zone type defense. They meet you in the neutral zone. A lot of teams, Pittsburgh obviously, they wait back. You go into your own zone, then they start playing D. Hurricanes creep all the way up. That's just the type of defense they are, and that all generates from their forecheck, right? They're getting that forecheck, they're getting the opportunities on net, and then whenever you try to get out of their own zone, it's tough because they're in the neutral zone and they're trying to create havoc there. And we saw the Rangers make some turnovers on the road. Trouba was the one shorthanded when the Rangers had the power play. He had the turnover in the neutral zone. Hurricanes ended up taking, I think it was an odd man rush, and they ended up scoring the shorthanded goal. So the Rangers have to limit those turnovers. Get the puck through the neutral zone cleanly into your zone. And for the Rangers too, because we've seen this, and Hedl had it on Saturday. He had two 2-on-1 chances, 2 odd man rushes. Missed the first one, made the second one. You gotta make your odd man rushes. Hedl did it, had a great game, had 2 goals. That backhanded goal that he had was amazing. I mean, he couldn't put that in any other spot. Backhander, top post, corner, perfect. Literally a great shot. I mean, couldn't have asked for a better shot. It was a great goal. But he had the 2-on-1. He missed it. Had another 2-on-1. Took advantage. For the rare shorthanded opportunity, or for the rare odd man rushes that you're going to get, because Hurricanes don't give up many of them, you have to take advantage. Whether it's a breakaway, whether it's a 3-on-2, even if it's a 2-on-2 and you have some space, or if it's a 3-on-2, even if the third guy for the Hurricanes is trailing, he's in the play, but he's a little bit behind it, you have to take advantage of that. Especially 2-on-1s. You have a 2-on-1. Whether it's one pass across the slot and a shot right up, shot at the top, or whether it's going in and maybe you try to do a move or something or a late pass, and if it's breakaway, just don't be over fancy. Just find the way to put the puck in the back of the net. You got to take advantage of the odd man rushes because the Carolina won't give you many of them. They don't give you many odd man rushes. So when they do, you got to take advantage. And that's really the big thing, because when they give you an odd man rush, you have to take advantage. So, and that's big there. So you can't dump and chase. When you get the puck, move it into the zone. Get it into the zone. Set up your offense. Obviously we all know how lethal Mika has been. I think he scored 4 straight goals in this series. Had the great goal on Saturday, the nice move to get to the goal. We all know how lethal his one-time shot is. You get it across the slot, give it to Mika, boom. So those are the things, right? Can't turn the puck over. You gotta, the odd man rushes that you get, take advantage. We can't have 4 odd man rushes of 2-on-1 and miss all 4 of them. Or 2 breakaways and miss all of them. Or a 3-on-3 with some space and miss it. Or a 2-on-2 with some space. Even more. A 5-on-3 power play, you have to take advantage of that. Right? So, power play too, Rangers have to take advantage. Power play is an odd man rush for 2 minutes long. 2 minutes straight. I mean, power plays are free chances to score. You have one more skater on the ice. There should be no excuse for giving up a shorthanded goal or not scoring on a power play. Now, I shouldn't say not scoring on a power play is one thing. But giving up a shorthanded goal or turning the puck over or not at least getting a couple shots on net in a power play is ridiculous. Your power play's got to come to play. And, be physical, too. Be physical on the boards. Carolina's going to bring it tonight. At the way Game 5 or Game 4 ended, actually, even more so Game 3. The way Game 4 ended, the way last Saturday night's game ended with Reeves and all them going at it, you got to expect some physicality. And Carolina, similar to the Rangers, given that they're home, given that they're going to feed off their crowd, they're going to come out you hitting. They're going to come out swinging a little bit. They're coming out tonight to win the series just like you are. So you got to expect that physicality, and you can't be weak on the boards. You got to come back with that. That's another thing too. Another thing about the boards is, save the pucks, right? You get a puck where Mika clears it out a little bit, or the Hurricanes try to clear the puck. Instead of trying to put your entire body in front of it, stick your stick out or do anything to block it down. Any opportunity to get more chances on that. That's the biggest thing for the Rangers is whatever they can do to just get more chances on that. Because Ronta looked bad in Game 6. Really bad. And his confidence, I'm sure, is getting benched, letting up 3 goals. I'm sure his confidence isn't at an all-time high right now. I'm sure, and I'm telling you, Igor's is a lot more, right now, in this moment, going into tonight's game, who has the more confident goalie? It's the Rangers. I mean, Antti Raanta got benched, let up 3 goals. He got benched. That's going to hurt your confidence a little bit. It's also I'm sure, going to make him feel the need to maybe at times, do a little too much. Whether it's, feeling a little shaky out there or knowing the pressure is on, right? I mean, you got the more confident goalie. So just know that they've got to keep that in the back of their mind that, look, who has the more confident? Antti Ranta's confidence right now, I'm sure, isn't sky high. He got benched. So put shots on net. We saw something. He let up a couple softies in. I'm not saying hope that he just lets up softies because that's not going to win you games. But I'm saying get shots on net. They're going to go in. We've seen this before. So that's the big thing. So you got to take control of your zone. This needs to be a game where the Rangers are in the Carolina zone, not where Carolina's in the Rangers zone. If they are in the zone for a long time, Rangers need to find a way to clear the puck. You can't keep getting Carolina will shoot, block, saved by Igor. Then the Rangers will make a clear attempt. It doesn't go anywhere. Then they'll get another chance, and maybe they'll get like 2 more chances. And then your skaters are tired. Igor's obviously would like to maybe get a little bit of a breather. So you can't get those long, because that just wears you down. You can't get those long shifts where you're in your zone for a minute and a half, and they're just shooting pucks at Igor. It's not warm-ups. You can't let that happen. Sure, do that on Raanta, but you can't let that happen. So the big things tonight, right? Number 1, you're on the road. Right? Just eliminate the crowd. As Revo said, as Ryan Reeves told Brady Snyder, it's just another game, it's just louder. You just eliminate the crowd. You're on the road. You got to realize the crowd's not going to be on your side. There are some Ranger fans there, but 99% of that stadium's arena is going to be Hurricanes. There'll be that 1 or 2% of Ranger fans, but they're not going to make a ton of noise, right? We all know how that is. So, it's on the road game. Another thing, too, it's Game 7. It's the mindset. Game 7, everything out there. If it means putting your body out there to block a shot late in the game to help your team advance, do it. Whatever it takes, get this win. And do what you do at home on the road. I know it's not easy. It's not easy winning on the road, especially in hockey, especially in the playoffs. But take what you do at home and apply it on the road. And that's really it. To kind of just break it down one more time, right? Shoot the puck, get pucks on net. Can't play dump and chase. When you get the puck, you got to get it into your zone. Force it into your zone. Take advantage of the odd man rushes. You can't watch it. You can't see 5 2-on-1s and miss all of them. Take advantage of your odd man rushes. Take advantage of the power plays. Even if you get 2 power plays in this game, find a way to score at least on one of them. Because the Rangers have not taken advantage of the power plays, especially on the road. They've let up a lot of shorthanded goals. That can't happen. You have an extra guy out there for a reason. You get a 5-on-4, even if it's a 5-on-3, right? And expect physicality too. It's hockey to begin with, but we know how a couple of these games have ended with a couple scrums. Expect physicality. It's Game 7. So those are the things for the Rangers. And most of all, shoot the puck, score goals, win the game. That's most of all, obviously, the big key. So here it is, Game 7 tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Obviously, it's just a nerve-wracking game for a fan. But I gotta say, I guess I've gone through. See, what's funny is I've over my life. Let me see how many Game 7s I've seen. All right, so I don't even know. There's so many. Actually, there isn't a ton, right? So let me see. So I'm going all the way back. Like Yankees 2017 ALCS was Game 7 I saw. We don't talk about how that thing went. I guess you could say I saw Game 5, but that wasn't. And that was Yankees-Indians a couple years ago. Rangers, obviously. Penguins, Game 7. Nets, Bucks last year, Game 7. And here we go again, Game 7. So we hope the result for the Rangers is exactly. The result we hope is what happened in the Pittsburgh series. And that was a Game 7 win. Now, overtime, for my own health, maybe let's not do the overtime thing. Oh, man, well, I was standing that entire overtime. I was standing. I couldn't sit. I was so nervous and just energized. I couldn't, you're overtime in a Game 7. Next goal wins. Just having that on your mind is crazy. So tonight, although the overtime sounds great maybe for hockey fans, they're just watching the game just for their own pleasure. But as a fan, overtime, we can maybe do without the overtime. Maybe we could just win it in regulation and move on. That's what I would take. But in other games, I've seen a lot of Game 7s here recently, and it's a lot on a human being, I'll tell you that for sure. The blood pressure is definitely up there when you're watching those games. So Game 7 tonight, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN. Lay it all out there. Put it all out there, right? You win this, well, you're knocking right on the Stanley Cup's door. That's really how it is. So this is big. Big one tonight. We're about, we're about almost 6 hours out now. So about 6 hours and 6 minutes exactly out from. It's 1:54. We're about 6 hours and 6 minutes out from Rangers Hurricanes tonight. Go Rangers, whatever it takes. Find a way. Find a way to get this win and move on and move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. All right, so coming up next, we're going to get to the Celtics Heat game last night. Also was a Game 7. A lot of Game 7s around here, so been some good postseason action. So we're going to get to that game, recap it. where do the Heat go from here? Because last night, the Heat supporting cast was non-existent. It was just Jimmy Butler and nobody else. Where do the Heat go from here? And also, give you a little bit of a preview to the Celtics-Warriors series that's going to be starting up here in the next couple days. We'll get you all that coming up next. All right, so welcome you back here about the BSN podcast. Game 1 of the NBA Finals is Thursday, June 2nd. So that's a couple days from here. From now, obviously today being Monday, May 30th. So a couple days here. That will start up on Thursday in Golden State there at the Chase Center in the Bay Area. So that should be a good game to watch in San Francisco. Early line, by the way, opens up as 3.5. 3.5 point favorites is Golden State. So I fully expect it. I think this is going to be a good series. I think both these teams, Golden State and Boston, throw many different things at you. I think they're two completely different teams in the way they play and the way they run things. You know, you have Boston, more of an all-around very good team. Good on offense, good on defense, but then you have a Warriors team that's insane on offense, but not what the Celtics are defensively. So I think it's really one of those series that who has the better offense is the Warriors, by far. I mean, the Warriors have one of the best offenses in the NBA. I mean, they're the best shooter of all time on their team is Steph Curry. But who has the best defense? Well, it's Boston. They got Marcus Smart, who's on the defense, I think he was the defense player of the year. And then Marcus Smart, also a guy who's, chirpy, probably gonna be jawing at Jerry and Draymond Green a little bit. Kind of got that mindset of trying to get under guys' skin. Plays with, kind of a target on his back in terms of guys going at him. He's a very good defender. He can also do some damage offensively. So you really just look at the games. You really look at the series. On paper, you look at the Warriors and Celtics, and you probably say, oh, this is a Warriors in 5. But when you really look at it and you take a deep dive into it, what's going to give? Is the Warriors' offense just going to be too much for this Celtics defense, and the Celtics aren't going to produce enough? Or are the Celtics going to be able to produce and stop the Warriors defensively and be able to win this series? And that's why I feel like, and I'll get to Game 7 in a second, but just to give you my quick thoughts here, that's why I feel like this Warriors-Boston series could very well be a quick 5-game series. And maybe I might be wrong. I would love to see a 7-game series because I think 7-game series obviously are so much better. But this is one of these situations where you look at it and you see the Celtics and you see the Warriors, right? Could be one of these series that's kind of a quick 5-game series because let's say the Celtics just can't get anything offensively and the Warriors are just dominating. They steal all those games. I mean, that's what happened with Dallas. They just could not stop Steph Curry in that offense. And obviously Luka and them were good. They were very good, don't get me wrong. But they were just, Steph Curry and all them were too much to handle. Is that going to be the issue with Boston? Or is Boston going to be able to slow down Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Jordan Poole, Draymond, and Wiggins and all them and company? And slow them down and be able to, Tatum, Smart, Brown, Horford grabbing boards, right? Are they going to be able to do just enough? So that's why I could see it being maybe a 5-game series in one way, 5-game series in the other way. But to talk about last night's game, I mean, what a wild one. Really a game where the Celtics had command the entire game. And then really in the fourth quarter, the Heat made this late comeback, this late 11-0 run that they went on. I believe it was them, right? The quick kind of 11-0 run that they went on late to get the win. And they were able to go late, almost got the win, and they weren't able to do it. Celtics were able to get the win 100-96. So, look, obviously the doorstep, the Celtics, which is pretty cool, not pretty cool, but pretty crazy. So they've been so close to the NBA Finals. 3 of the last 5 years, they've been that close. They've been a couple games close of getting to the NBA Finals. So finally they break through. Ime Udoka and company break through. And just to start, this entire season for the Celtics has been pretty wild. I mean, you talk about going into last year's offseason. I remember, I'm a Net fan. So that was the Nets-Celtics first round series. Nets crushed them, smoked them in 5 games. And if you all remember, getting out of that series with Brad Stevens, leaving, obviously taking more of a front office role, and then the other, I forget his name, the GM who retired, you kind of think to yourself, okay, where's this Celtics team going? And you have guys like Marcus Smart's, contracts and his future with the team was up in the air. What do you do with all these other pieces? Do you kind of reset and go through a little bit of a retooling? Or do you go all in, or you kind of work with what you got and see what happens? Celtics brought in Ime Udoka. They said, look, we're going to work with what we got. They kept Marcus Smart, kept Jaylen Brown, kept Jason Tatum. Obviously, the hope was Jaylen Brown, who was so good last year, ended up getting hurt, could stay healthy, especially for the postseason. And they go into the season with the expectation of new coach, similar roster. Let's see what we can do. And they started the year off so poorly. You had people in Boston telling Ime Udoka to be fired, that Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown and Marcus Smart, the trio, needed to be broken up. I mean, there was people at the beginning of the season were saying it could very well be a selling at the trade deadline for the Celtics because it wasn't working. They were losing games, losing by a lot. They were just looking terrible. They were not. I mean, they looked very similar to the team that walked off the court at Barclays Center after a loss the year before. And they just did not look any better. And it looked like they were playing with no energy. And then they go on this wild stretch. We all know how it was. Go on this crazy stretch, get in to the playoffs, and now here they stand. Got the win last night, and they are now find themselves. They get into the playoffs, as we all know, as a 2 seed in the Eastern Conference, knock off the 1 seed, and here they are. So, a wild year for the Celtics. And you got to give credit to Ime Udoka and this roster, because this was a team that in the middle of the year was getting crushed, and rightfully so. They were an embarrassment. They were terrible. They were losing games left and right. Their defense was bad. They just weren't all good. They just did not look anything like the team that we saw even the year prior where they were least competitive. They were just not good. And the rate they were going, it looked like they were going to miss the postseason and have to sell at the deadline. And to be able to come back from this, and you got to give credit to Ime Udoka, even through all the tough times and all the crazy things that he could have done with the roster in terms of to try to shake things up, he kept the core 3 together, which is Smart, Jaylen Brown, and Tatum. He kept them together. He obviously made some changes, to the game plan stuff, but kind of kept what he was doing. It was just a matter of time and when it was going to work. Finally got finally got all the right combos together, finally got all the right different plays and lineups and all that stuff together, and figured out a way to turn the ship. And they've really, ever since that bad start, they were the hottest team ending the season, hottest team going into the postseason, and now they win Game 7 last night on the road, by the way, in Miami, which is obviously no stranger to postseason basketball, with obviously the run of D-Wade, LeBron, and Bosh there in the early 2010s with their little dynasty that they had going with the Big Three. So it was a great win for Boston. And last night, it was similar to how the entire series went. Jimmy Butler does everything, and his supporting cast does not help him. This game, this game got off to as bad as a start as you could have asked for if you're a Miami Heat fan. You go into the game, right? You're at home, you're in front of your home crowd. You got a really good win in Game 6 on the road, where Butler and his teammates came up big. Right? Butler scoring 40 plus, coming up big in Game 6. You're at home now, and you just come out flat. And they come out and they get outscored 32-17 in the first quarter. And the Celtics just were in more better rhythm. They were locking them down defensively. The Heat outside of Butler just looked lost. Heat are a very fast-paced team. They all of a sudden looked like they were playing slow and kind of slow-paced, trying to figure things out. And when you're the home team, you want to get off to those quick starts. Get the crowd involved early. And that's the big thing. That's why I think they really lost this game, was the start. Because you look at it. If the Heat get off to a quick 5-10 point start, they're going to carry that because the crowd's going to be into it. Guys are going to be playing well. They're going to be meshing. They're going to be good. Celtics are now going to have to come from behind in a Game 7. That's one thing. Come from behind on the road in a Game 7. But the Heat just came out flat-footed. They just came out flat. Celtics came out high energy. And maybe some of that could be the fact that they're the little bit maybe the younger team, maybe a little bit more high energy team. The team that kind of went into it. Look, Game 7 on the road, just put it all out there, and that's what the Celtics did. And they got great. They got great performances from their big 3. Out of all the points scored by the starters, 26 from Tatum, 24 from Marcus Smart, 24 from Jaylen Brown. Al Horford had 5. Robert Williams had 2. Outside of Robert Williams and Al Horford scored 7 points. in the starting lineup. Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, Jaylen Brown led the way with their big performance. And obviously, Jason Tatum and Marcus Smart and Jaylen Brown, right, combining for 50, then 74 points combined out of that starting lineup. But the crazy thing is Al Horford scored 5 points, but he had 14 rebounds. He was dominating the boards, and so did Tatum. And this is another thing, too, for a Heat team. When they're struggling to get opportunities, and they're struggling to score points, and they're not getting maybe all these great opportunities that they would have really wanted, when they're really struggling, they're not getting rebounds either. They were getting out-rebounded. They were getting out-tough. They were getting out-physical. I mean, they were terrible from three. Heat shot 20% from three. And some guys that have been better from three recently in the postseason were just cold last night. Were terrible. Butler came up big with 35, but outside of that, there was nothing. Adebayo at 25. And other than that, PJ Tucker didn't score. Max Struss had 8. Kyle Lowry had 15, and that was your starting lineup last night for the Heat. 20% from three. They got out-rebounded by 7, and that was at home. Never able to get the crowd into it. They relied late. They had to come, late in the game, they made that comeback. And Butler obviously missed that wide-open 3. And that wide-open 3 by Butler could be debated and seen in many different angles. Here's my thing with the Butler shot. Okay, I think people saying that it was the people saying that he shouldn't have took the shot, I think is ridiculous. There's some people out there, on the internet, on sports apps, that are saying he should have passed it, or maybe waited a little bit to look over his options and then try to shoot it, as a last second shot. I disagree with those people, okay? I don't think it was a bad shot at all from Jimmy Butler. You could go in many different angles with this. You could say it was a terrible shot. Some people say it was very good. Some people say he should have took one dribble and shot at the 2. The only thing with that is you would have to rely on your defense. And how I really see the shot is, I don't think it was a bad shot to take. He was the best player on the floor, you could say, in the entire game. I mean, you could make the argument he was the best player on the floor the entire game. I know Tatum had a double-double, played 46 minutes and all that good stuff. But Butler, he played 48 minutes, went 13 of 24, 9 boards, 35 points. You could say Butler, despite the loss, was still the best player on the floor that night. Definitely was the best by a whole mile over best player on the Heat last night. But the big thing I don't disagree with him taking a shot. You can look at it both ways. I don't disagree with the people saying he could have took one dribble in and shot the 2. And I know some people say, well, then you got to play defense. It's only the tie. But your defense was playing very good the final 2 minutes of that. So do you take the 2, trust your defense, maybe hope for a steal or something, and then if your defense steps up, then the game's going to overtime? Or you try to take the lead with that 3-pointer, which is what he did, and he misses. Look, at the end of the day, this is it, right? At the end of the day, if he would have took a step in and shot the 2 and made it, and the Heat go on to lose because they let up a basket, maybe Tatum gets a buzzer beater like he did in Game 1 against the Nets, gets a buzzer beater layup to win it and, advance them to the finals, people would be saying Butler should have never, took the one step in and should have just shot the 3. If Butler makes the 3 and the Heat win, Butler's a hero. He missed the 3, Butler stinks. That's how it is. That's how sports are. So I don't disagree with the shot. He was the best player on the floor. To the people out there saying, oh, we should have passed it or he should have never shot it, well, who is he going to pass to? Kyle Lowry shot 1 of 6 from 3. He was 4 of 12 overall. Max Struss shot 30%. He had 8 points. Who are you going to give it to? PJ Tucker in the corner? He didn't make a single basket. He didn't make a single field goal last night. And like I said, Tyler Hero, too, he only played 7 minutes. So he wasn't much of an option last night given the injury. So that was the big issue. Who are you going to bring in? Oladipo, 1 of 7 from 3. So that's the issue, right? You're not going to be able to. Butler was the best player on the floor. He's the one taking that shot. Whether he should have stepped in and taken a 2, or whether you're okay with him taking a 3, that's a different topic. I see both sides of it. I kind of stand in the middle when it comes to that. I don't disagree with him taking the 3. I also don't disagree with the people saying he should have stepped in to take a 2, because your defense was playing very good. The Celtics were actually playing really bad on offense down the stretch, and I'll actually get to that in a second. But that's it. Look, if Butler would have made the shot, he's the hero. They win it all. They're moving on to the NBA Finals. If he obviously misses it, now creates all this stuff about whether or not should have taken. I have no issue with him taking that shot. He was the best player on the floor, and what Heat fan really should have an issue of is the supporting cast around him. Because this was the supporting cast. Bam obviously had 25 points. He had a good game. But other than him, Lowry had 15, Max Struss had 8, PJ Tucker had none. That was your starting lineup. Your bench, Oladipo gave you 9, Vincent gave you 4, Tyler Hero, you can't really put him into the equation. He with his injury and stuff, he only played 7 minutes, but he didn't contribute at all during those 7 minutes. So other than that, they played with a 8-man rotation, and they just didn't do anything. There was no production outside of Jimmy Butler. So now you got to ask the question of who's going to, in the postseason come this, who are you going to bring in that's going to help Jimmy Butler come this in the postseason? Because now we've tended to see this a couple years now. We saw it last year where it was kind of Butler. I mean, the Heat just played terrible against the Bucks, but it was kind of Butler and maybe a couple other guys, but not much, and the Bucks just ran right over them. We saw it in the bubble against the Lakers in the NBA Finals, where it was all Butler and nobody else. And the Lakers ended up winning it. And now we see it again last night, where it's all Jimmy Butler. Not, Bam Adebayo came to play, but outside of them two, there was nothing. And guys like Kyle Lowry, guys like Oladipo that you brought in to help the issue of, the support around Butler did not show up last night. So you got to wonder where they go in the offseason in terms of, do they bring in a real big name? Do they try to go out and trade for a real big name and kind of create like a big three in a way? Do they roll what they got and bring in better bench pieces? I mean, you got to realize, too, Tyler Hero is injured. If Tyler Hero plays, we very well could be talking about a Heat-Warriors finals right now. That obviously wasn't the case. So, tough loss for the Heat. You go into an offseason where you got to find a way you got to figure out a way. And Jimmy Butler's obviously your best player. So I'm not saying try to find a way to take shots away from Jimmy Butler, but figure out a way. You don't want to bring a guy in that's going to completely take away shots from Butler and take away his offensive ability. You don't want to do that. I'm not saying bring in a guy who's, shoots a lot. But bring in a guy who can be relied on late in games, big moments, right? Especially in the postseason, because too many times we've seen Jimmy Butler kind of just get left in the dust, where he's the only guy out there doing anything, and he's playing up against 5 other guys. And when you're playing up against a team that has Jason Tatum, Marcus Smart, and Jaylen Brown on it, it's going to be tough. So they have to figure out that. But for the Celtics now they move on to the NBA Finals. And seeing that game last night and the way it unfolded, my biggest thing for the Celtics is, like I said, nobody's doubting their defense. Nobody's doubting, Tatum's offensive ability, Jaylen Brown, Marcus Smart, how they can contribute offensively. Al Horford's toughness, getting the rebounds. He had 14 more last night. 24 combined between him and Tatum led to 51 total for the team, which out-rebounded the Heat by 7. Heat were also terrible from free throws last night. They left a lot of free points out there. Celtics weren't great either. Neither team. I think Celtics shot like 79%. Heat shot like 60, I think, or something. It was bad. You leave a lot of free points out there. Celtics shot 19 of 24 from free throw, which was 79.2%. Heat shot 66.7% from free throw. So just bad. Obviously, Celtics had a lot of big defensive rebounds, out-rebounded them offensively, so Celtics had a couple second-chance opportunities, and that was really the gist of it. I mean, the Heat were terrible from 3. I mean, they were 6 of 30 from 3, and the score shows it. This wasn't your 125, 123 game winner with a 3-pointer. This was 196, where the Celtics shot 41.2%, Heat shot 42%. This was your tough, gritty playoff type game. But for the Celtics, the big thing is they gotta finish out games stronger. And back to that Jimmy Butler topic with him taking that 3 or shouldn't take a 3. They should not have been in that situation. 2 minutes to go, and the Heat, I think the Celtics were up like 10 or something, and the Heat go on this massive run, and the Celtics start to turn the ball over and maybe foul a little bit, and it's just like, what's going on here? And against the Warriors, if you have Curry taking that final shot, he's going to make that. He's the greatest shooter of all time. You can't let that happen. You also can't let Curry get good looks like that, especially if it's going to be late in games. That is a rare, very good look that they gave up, especially for a good defensive team. If the Celtics want to win this series, coming up against the Warriors, when they have leads and late in games, they need to close out games. Because they'll outplay you. But late in games, they get outplayed too often. So, Celtics need to find a way to, against the Warriors, if they get up, they do a good job of getting off to quick starts, but they have to finish games just like they get off to quick starts. Do that same thing, except finishing as well. So, like I said, Game 1 saw Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Those are obviously should be a fun series. Looking forward to really a very exciting series. And we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously, should be good. Like I said, I maybe I'm wrong, and maybe I'm wrong, and this series goes to 7 games. But I could very well see this series going 5-6 games. Even if it's a quick 5-game series, because like I said, both teams have strengths and they have weaknesses, just like every team. But they gotta have a big strength and pretty big weakness. Not that I shouldn't say that. I kind of reverse what I said. It's hard to explain because the more all-around well-rounded team is probably the Celtics. But when you have the best shooter of all time, and Klay Thompson and Andrew Wiggins and a supporting cast like that Curry has brought to him with this team, it's hard to stop. And the Celtics are very good defensively, but can they stop Steph Curry? Not many guys out there can. So this very well could be a series where if the Celtics find a way to contain this offense that the Warriors have, they could very well run away with it. But if you can't contain Steph Curry and this Warriors, same thing's going to happen with the Mavericks. You're going to win in 5 games. And that's very well what can happen. So, should be an interesting series. Should be a couple really close games. I foresee it being a close type games. A series can go in many different directions if you really look at it. But, Celtics-Warriors, Game 1, Thursday, 9 p.m. Eastern on ABC. Warriors open up as an early 3.5-point favorite. Alrighty, so let's get the New York sports update here and then finish off the podcast for today on this Memorial Day, Monday, May 30th. Alright, so we'll start off with the MLB. We got some afternoon games on. I got the Cubs Brewers on right now. I was actually watching that 2-1. So once I'm done with this, I'll probably watch more of that. Tigers Twins right now. It's 3-3. Padres Cardinals just started, top of the first. That game's got no score yet. The rest of the games today, you got the Phillies, Giants, Astros, A's, Marlins, Rockies, Royals, Guardians, Red Sox, Orioles, Cubs, Brewers, Rays, Rangers, Braves, Diamondbacks, Pirates, Dodgers. Mets, Nationals are tonight. Mets come into this game 32-17. Nationals come into the game 18-31. Eric Fede's on the mound for the Nationals. He's 3-3 with a 3.55 ERA. And the Mets have David Peterson on the mound. He's 2-0 with a 2.16 ERA. The over-under is set at 9. 7:10 p.m. Eastern, MLB Network. Also find on SNY. So, like I said, on paper it might not look like a big series, but the Mets, if they want to have success on that West Coast trip, you can't go into the West Coast trip stumbling. Go into the West Coast trip, if you can go into the West Coast trip winning, 6 straight games, which would be 3 already against the Phillies and then 3 more against the Nationals after having that rough series in San Francisco. If you could do that, you're in a good spot. But, it's all about what you do in this series now. So, for some reason, my phone isn't loading. Now, we already know, obviously, Rangers on tonight. Rangers Hurricanes, 8 p.m. Eastern on ESPN. Should be a good one. I think it's going to be a very good game. This game very well tonight could be a 2-1 game. We've seen a lot of these games this series. 2-1, 3-1, 3-2, 1-0, 2-1. You heard me. You heard what I said about the Rangers. Tonight's it. Got to find a way to win tonight. Put it all out there, whatever it takes. Game 7, 2 best words in all sports. Let's roll, LGR. Let's go Rangers. Like I said, my phone is not loading at all. So, fantasy baseball, I won in both leagues this week, and I have starting pitching going in both leagues. I have Kyle Gibson and Logan Webb going in my main league, and in my other league I have Walker Buehler and somebody else that I forget. So, Fantasy, my phone is just not loading. Internet, for some reason. Phone's just not loading. So, that will do it for the podcast today. As always, another good one here in the books. We're about, 5.5 hours out now from the Ranger game tonight. Countdown is continuing here. But yeah, enjoy all the sports on. Enjoy the rest of your Memorial Day. Enjoy all the baseball, afternoon baseball. Always fun to watch. So that, Mets tonight, and as we all know, the main event, 8 p.m. Eastern, ESPN, Rangers, Hurricanes. Go Rangers, take care of business, win this game, and let's move on to the Eastern Conference Finals. Let's go Rangers, and yeah, that will do it. As always, I will see you all back here tomorrow. Hope you enjoyed it, and thanks for watching.